It's going to be a very interesting discussion as soon as I get my mic on, right? So I think everybody is in. Let's see if we're going to invite any other people at this point. I want to say good day and welcome to our audience. Very good. Right now, if you could please mute until we're ready to get started, that would be great. Want to let everyone know I am Grant McGaw. I'm the CEO of 5-Star BDM and host of the award-winning Follow Brand podcast and author of First Light, The Brave Paths to Authentic Leadership. And I am honored to moderate this powerful and much-needed conversation around making a way and finding a way to win. Today, it's not about typical metrics of success. It's about redefining what it means to win in a world that wasn't always defined or designed for us. It's about resilience. It's about reinvention. It's about responsibility. And it's about what happens when you have to build from scratch without a blueprint and still choose to thrive. And I am joined by an incredible panel of thought leaders, innovators, advocates, and builders who didn't just find their way, they made it. So I would like them to first introduce themselves, and then I'll go one by one, and then we're going to get deeper into this discussion that's very, very important for all of us. So I'm going to start right below us. Raul, would you like to come off mute and introduce yourself? There you are. Can you come off mute?
Yeah, this me?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Pentara Marapatla, so you can call me Rao.
Raul.
So I'm Director of Data and Technology. I work as a nonprofit organization. So I lead, a big team. We work for the cause. Like you might be knowing that type 1 diabetes, it's one of the painful ongoing disease. So we help the people who are, really struggling with the type 1 diabetes. Yeah.
Very interesting. I like that. Thank you for joining us. And Arjun,
Yeah.
right to your left or right, depending on where you're at. Would you like to come off mute?
Thanks for having me. My name is Arjun, founder of Visva Agrotech. So basically, we are involved in creating.
Yes, your mic seems to be, your audio is just a little bit off. We'll come back to you. So Dr. Venu, would you like to introduce yourself? You're on mute right now, sir. Nope, you're still on mute. Can you come off of mute?
Yeah.
There you are.
Yeah. My name is, Venu GR. I'm the one who is a board of director and implementing AI in governance at the corporate level, at board level, how AI is going to change.
Oh, look like he is also having a little mic issue, but
Yes.
there he is.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Society of, Literature.
Oh, he's dropped off again. We'll wait till he stabilizes and he'll come back on. If can we get Tiffany Martin to go ahead and then introduce themselves? Are you off of mute? Yes, yourself. Right now, I'm seeing you on mute, or we're not hearing you clearly. Yes.
No.
Yeah, we can't hear you. All right, we'll come back. We got Russell. Russell, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, Grant. It's good to be here, and thank you for being so welcoming. My name is Russell. I am Director of Partnerships at GatherVerse and also co-founder at Just Verify. And at Just Verify, we're focused on verifying, well, our mission in a nutshell is to verify the integrity and trustworthiness of AI models to ensure the responsible adoption across the world, basically. And also our long-term vision is to create we have negative feedback there.
Can we get yes, thank you for muting.
There we go. And yeah, so and also our vision is to create a future in which everyone can trust AI as well. So it seems to be that we're having technical difficulties, Grant, behind the scenes, but obviously I'm here to also join the discussion. So feel free to ask me any questions, and I'm happy to participate. So thank you for having me, Grant.
We're going to bring you definitely in. I mean, this is a discussion for everyone. I want to make sure our audience also understands that we want their input, that this is a group discussion. It's actually a worldwide discussion because it affects everyone. And we've got Arjun back. I wanted you to go ahead and introduce yourself. Hopefully your mic is not working properly, so go right ahead.
Yeah, so I'm the founder of Visva Agrotech. And so we're basically converting greenhouses into vending machines. We're automating the process from seed to harvest and delivery, and with a direct to business consumer, where the consumer will walk into the greenhouse and directly purchase their freshly harvested produce. So that's the vision we're building, based in Montreal in Canada. And our mission is basically to enhance food security and bring fresh, pesticide-free produce to local communities.
Excellent. So, Tiffany, can we get you to come up here and introduce yourself?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good grief. All right. The world of technology, huh? No, I'm founder and CEO of Visiotech. We are a social tech company working on emerging technologies, but we focus on AI solutions, cybersecurity solutions, as well as training. And so we are really grounded in the notion of the curb cut effect, in which we reach for the margins in hopes of getting everybody in between. So
this is interesting. I want you to stay on and talk to us a little bit more, because we're going to get into this discussion, and everyone is definitely, it's an open mic, open discussion, as if we were sitting right in front of each other, having a discussion around, and I'm going to say, like in the corporate world, it's all driven by profit, right?
mm-hmm.
And so when we understand that, we have to understand what winning looks like. When if the only evaluation metric is profits, how do we win? We have got to rethink this. And how can we define winning when evaluated beyond just profits? What does it mean when you're not just measured on just your titles or your dollars? And what can you work with? So I'd like to have you first kind of weigh in on this and see what our counterparts would say as well. How do you see defining yourself in this world right now beyond profits?
For me, being a person that lives with a disability, I'm 100% blind, no light or object perception. But having a business background, I do understand the importance of profit. But seeing the advancements that we are able to do recently, with just this rapid innovation and industrial revolution with AI, it's how much time are we getting back? What space is being created with the opportunities that AI presents, where professionals are able to create more, spend more time on producing things that they can associate with, and really speak to the consumer in a holistic way. And so I look at it from a social capital standpoint, just in other metrics and measurements, just from a global humanitarian standpoint. So that's kind of how I'm balancing those things out. I'm not canceling out profit. I do understand, but there are other important measures that we have to take and centralize to the human being.
I think that's so important to understand. Profit is an outcome of activity, of human endeavor. But what is the end goal really? Is it to produce an outcome that benefits the person that's utilizing the product, service, whatever it may be, that produces the product? I think sometimes we get that a little backward. I'd like to get some more input. Who else would like to join this discussion? I see a lot of heads shaking, like, let's think about this. Let's really weigh in on this, because every time I open up the news and whatnot, they're all talking about P&L, stock market, this is the measure of success. But is it really? What say you? I'm gonna go down to Raul. You like to come off mute?
Yeah, sure. So, as I mentioned, right, I work for the non-profit organization. Like my organization itself is a non-profit. So, what make me fascinate, right? So, like the number of years experience what I have, like if I work for that commercial companies, right? It's like, they pay me, really big. But what fascinating me is like, when we help someone, right? And when we see the smile on their faces, so that's what, profit for me, right? Like, that's how I'm going to look into it.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Let's
Yeah.
go over to Arjun. What would you say?
Yeah, great. So that's a great point in terms of we are edged toward profits, but companies are focusing on impact. So where I would focus is its impact over profits, and companies are trying to do that, but it's hard to put a number on it. In a capitalist society, everything has to have a number. For example, with the carbon credits, where different companies get credits for it. But then there's also greenwashing where companies play around with those credits. And if you're just focusing on carbon, what about biodiversity? So it's hard to put a number on the impact itself. But I think instinctually, what impact looks like and feels like. So I think it's just uh, changing the reward system. And I think the biggest factor to change that reward system is the consumer sentiment. Because in the end, the market feeds to consumer demand. For example, there's an increase.
Oh, he dropped off. All right, we're going to go down to Dr. Venue. I don't know if you
Yeah,
heard the
hi.
question or not, but we want to understand your definition of what it means in a world that's evaluated by profit. Is there measures beyond that?
Yes, because finding a way to win, right? When we say winning, because in a corporate world, winning is profitability, money making. If you go to the education, how much grade what we achieved, grade A plus one or B plus two. But there is a factors are influencing in the profit. One is that strategy thinking is important to win profits, strategic. Second is that resilience and adoption is important. Third is that creative problem solving is important. These three factors influence the profit. And overall, if you look at a business negotiation and a personal and leadership qualities drives the profit.
This is important. I'm not, now I'm going to run it over to Russell because we want to continue on this route because I think when people see that if the only measurement is profit, the only measurement is money, then and when they look at themselves, they're like, well, where am I at on this totem pole? Where am I at in this pyramid? Do I have profit in my life or do I have money in my life? And if I don't, then I'm less than. I'm not successful in that realm. How do you look at this, Russell?
It's an interesting question. I think it's a multifaceted question, to be honest. I think it can be done in multiple different ways. For example, I think one of the ways could be done is human values. Another way you could potentially do it is through trust, as in, do you trust other people or do you trust AI that you're using, etc. I think there's a multitude of ways in which you can do it. I think it's really the definition is down to the individual person, as in, what do they value most and how is that value to them in terms of, what they care about most, really. For example, someone might just, like going camping and having a lovely time and, just loving their partner, and that's a successful life for them, right? And for other people, it could be, having a successful business that's multi-million dollars kind of thing, but does good in the world, so to speak, at the same time. So I think there's different ways in kind of how you can measure it. I think new benchmarks and standards have to be put in place, which are not put in place yet. And I think we have to define those yet, which I still think is yet to come, because currently in the AI space and how we measure at this moment in time, we look at maths, we look at coding, we look at all those sort of paths, but we don't look at sort of like, when it comes to the good in the world, or how it's being used in terms of like our workflows, or how we use it in the business. So I think new standards and benchmarks have to be created, and for that to happen, it's going to take a collaboration. In order for the collaboration to happen, you have to bring people together for that. So that's what I think, really, in a nutshell. And yeah.
No, what you're getting to is that when I look at this, and I've heard from all of you, it's about narrative. What is the narrative in the world today around business and the purpose and what we're doing? At the end of the day, it's all about a P&L sheet, some kind of spreadsheet that says, hey, we won or we lost. And that's the end of the day. However, as we go through life, we understand that there are definitely other measurements of success, because things begin out of nothing for the most part. We weren't talking about AI 3-4 years ago, and now we are, and it's created a lot of profitability in other parts of the world. We weren't talking about cars before we were dealing with horses. So the narrative shapes the conversation, but we've got to understand that this is human endeavor. It is the human element that creates value. It's the human element that creates the profitability. So the true value is in the human component. And when we look at that, we've got to understand this next question, which is around resilience and persistence, and finding a new way to win, meaning finding a new story that fits what you're doing and not what someone else is doing and how their system of measurement is. How do you find your way forward? I want to bring this over to Tiffany, because she is started in the world which she cannot see. For some, that is a tremendous detriment, but she has found a way to win. Talk to us about resilience and persistence from your lens.
I represent multiple identities, and the three main ones being an African American woman with a disability all come with challenges. And the primary one, which you stated with the disability, for my identity's sake, I do not necessarily believe that I have a disability. I don't consider myself a disabled person. I live with a disability. The world that I live in, though, however, has made me relatively disabled, because between these two entities, myself and the world, I cannot change my condition. However, society can. It just chooses to go about it in a gradual pace. So resistance, endurance, perseverance, it comes at a necessity. If I do not adapt, if I do not find alternatives, then I cannot sustain a quality of life. Also, there is this weight that I hold of, being a trailblazer, which means, all pun intended, I do not see the path in front of me. I am, in the case of Chris, chopping wood and hoping that that path that I have cleared is enough and will suffice for those that have lived situations and experiences like I do to follow suit. So, persistence looks a little different. One quick story, 2 years ago, I went to go pursue higher education and went to a PWI as well as a HBCU, and both, the barriers were just, to me, ridiculous. How can you code if you're blind? You don't have enough experience in leadership. So I just took that year to prove them wrong, not for the sake of, just I had a chip on my shoulder. It was, you have not encountered many people like I do. Let me be the example. And so I always say, and not as a I'm not bragging in no way, but to graduate with multiple honors, as well as to get, awarded by Black Enterprise, 40 under 40, it was a testament of everybody that has lived experiences like I do that can follow suit. Just going back to your first question, that's how I measure, success, not by profit, but what barriers are being eradicated.
Mm-hmm. This is important. This is from the heart. This is from truth. That's very hard for, when we were all talking about AI earlier. How do you measure that? How will a machine measure that? Really, the human component is still undefined, and it will be something that is going to be a challenge as we move forward, because we are very adaptable beings and we shift and change a lot. Along these lines of resilience and persistence, I'm going to bring this over to Russell. Look into your story and how you've become persistent when you had to step up your game. You had to level up, and that caused you to get to a different understanding of even your own self and what your career is all about. How would you answer that?
It's a very interesting question, Grant. Honestly, persistence and resilience is all about getting back up on the horse, so to speak, and riding again. It's all about being knocked down and getting back up. It's all about being consistent too. It's all about also learning from your mistakes and growing from them and becoming, I guess if you want to call it in a nutshell, 2.0 of yourself. Resilience and persistence is part of becoming the best version of yourself, so to speak. Also, the best version when it comes to your business too, right? In terms of growing it, you're going to find, you're going to face a lot of challenges. You're going to face a lot of hurdles. Yeah, I think in a nutshell, it's part of the journey, and you really want to enjoy the journey for what it is, and not just like try to see the end goal and that's it and just get there. Like you want to just teleport there and go, boom, I'm here, right, kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's just part of the we'll call it entrepreneurship, so to speak. But also when it comes to your own career, your personal life, etc., it's just part of it also. So yeah, and then also I guess I'll add too, like when it comes to, if you're thinking about social impact, when it comes to the social impact side of things and society and everything like that too, when it comes to resilience and persistence in that, like if you want to make change happen, then you have to be resilient and persistent in that too. So I'll just add on to that and finish on that. So
no, I love that. We've got to understand that what we call profit, right? We talk about winning. We talked about that earlier. It is an outcome. But before you can get to that outcome, you've got to put forth your will. You've got to be persistent. It's just not automatic. It's something that is a result of really of hard work. When I think of Arjun and what you're doing in vertical, farming innovations, you're changing lives. You're starting from scratch and says, you know what, I'm going to take on this particular endeavor where they're in the Chris Lafayette's words, or I'm going to chop some wood. I'm going to go where no one is at right now, and I'm going to create there. What does resilience look like for you in that process?
Yeah, definitely. It's a low margin business, so it's the impact that inspires me more than the monetary potential. So, with having a potential to feed consumers in underprivileged communities, help address food deserts, so that is a big motivation for me, and that helps build my resilience. And I think resilience is and persistence. This is an underrated character among several big successful entrepreneurs. Uh, you talk about them being smart, but I think more than anything else, they are resilient and persistent, and this helps you solve bigger obstacles. And by solving bigger obstacles, you can build bigger solutions and create a bigger impact.
Aha, I love that. I love that. That's what we're talking about. Now we're getting into the game and how you truly win. When I come over here and I look at Dr. Venu, and Dr. Venu, you've done a lot in the world of enterprise and AI. From your perspective, how do you balance resilience and responsive innovation in your world?
So the winning starts from the negotiation first, because negotiation is the foundation. Anything, the vision you want to implement, execution starts from the negotiation. So that negotiation gives that, collaborating with similar kind of sectors. For example, A will be collaborated with agriculture, pharmaceutical, warehouse. So this is the way, negotiating with the different sectors, and that leads to the winning factor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So collaboration plays a key role.
So I've heard what you said, and this is important information, especially coming from an engineering background as yourself. And also, Raul, you have an engineering background. You've built intelligent data systems globally. To help us understand the key to building a scalable and an empowering ecosystem, what resilience did you have to go through to get to where you are now?
Yeah, so this really, the interesting question. So how I look in, right? Like, failure is not like real failure, right? Failure is for stepping for your success, right? That's how I usually look into it, right? So I just want to give an example, right? Like, so we usually have all the social media platforms, right? Like, since like we are the nonprofit, like, we do a lot of advertisement and all, right? So we bring the data into our systems and we generate the visualization to the C team and all that people, right? So that way they can, get the complete insights. So what we used to do, so we completely rely on that like third party tool vendors to, bring our own data, right? And we pay a lot of money to them, right? Like, every year, like, we pay hundred of thousands of dollars to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then that's where I started thinking like, okay, so it is our data. So we have the technology in our hand. So why can't we maintain and, implement our own solution altogether, right? So then I started thinking in that direction, right? Yes, it took me a little while to, understand what they're doing, how they're operating and everything, right? Then I built my own API ecosystem, which will, yes, it took a little like amount, so that way I need to have the infrastructure ready and a code ready, everything up and running. But that's kind of in one-time investment, right? So later on, so you don't have to pay anything. So everything comes and you will maintain your own data in your API ecosystem, and it will work seamlessly and connect with all the KPIs, metrics, and when C teams are using those, it's a really benefit for them. So that's how I look. One, failure is not really failure, right? Like what you are learning from them, right? Then how you are bounce back to, from that failure with your innovations. So that's how I usually look into it. And
I think that's so important to understand these stories. You both, all five of you have shared stories of resilience. In the audience, they're asking, hey, when I hear resilience, I'm thinking, travel or trauma survivor. I think it's all of those things and it's more. In the book I just wrote in First Light, I talk about resilience as part of the brave framework. I frame it in the world of a mountain. And when you're about to take on an endeavor, you're going to come across different complications that you weren't exactly anticipating. And so, in order to be resilient, you're going to have to start thinking about resources. You're going to start talking about research. You're going to talk about relationships that you have that you're going to have to garner as you then take on the trek and climb up the mountain of resilience. it's very, very important to understand before you're on that mountain that you're trying to achieve that goal. And you're like, oh, you know what? I forgot certain things. You don't want to have that. You want to gather your resources and understand and get the will to move forward. Tiffany has showed us that way. You've got to have the will. She came across different, other people's perceptions and said, let me step back and I'm going to assess this situation and then I'm going to step forward. That is a classic example of what you call persistence and resilience to achieve your desired result. Now, the next question on our table is about resilience and innovation. Is it more about staying persistent or recognizing the right moment to change direction? I think we've already kind of answered that through Tiffany's example. That's exactly what she did. And I want our audience to really lean in and think about your own lives. When did you have a chance to either lean in or step back to get to the desired result and understand the narrative that is in front of you? Now, when we ask this next question to our panelists, we're asking it as a team, as all of us, because failures, as we heard, do become stepping stones if you have the right mindset around it, right? So let's lean into that a little bit forward about failing forward. How do failures become stepping stones and resources are very, very limited, as we are finding now in the world that we live in? So I'm going to go back to Tiffany. How have you got resilient when you've had limited resources?
I think there is an inherent ingenuity that comes with the loss of a faculty. I just did a post on LinkedIn this morning that that I said, if you want to test the true utility of your AI tool, let a professional with a disability use it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to extract from it its bare use, but in a very tangible and applicable way. And then we'll find different, modalities of it. Even with the clientele that we have, anytime we are, a client comes to us, they are pretty much at the brink of failure. Specifically with compliance, we created a framework called the Accessible AI Quotient Framework. And we really try to press accessibility from the start. But most companies, when they come, they're trying to meet a compliance issue, whether through the EU Act or Section 508 here domestically. And so we welcome, those failures. We let them know, like, it's not an issue to be ignorant. It's an issue to stay ignorant. Mm-hmm. And once we, have identified where that gap is, it's a learning opportunity. What can we gather? What can we, utilize, recycle? It's what can we salvage at that point? And so, like for me, it's always going to be a trial and error. But I try to use my lived experience, kind of going in blind, to relate to others and let them know that, hey, it's understandable. Let's move forward.
This is important. I'm going to go back to Raul. In this moment, when you had to think about changing direction, what was going on with you in your mind? And you said you failed forward. You were doing those things, but you had to make the change at the right moment to get to the better result. What changed for you?
So yeah, definitely, to me, understand where I am failing, right? If I don't understand completely, I'll take a step back and take a little time, right? It's okay to understand the situation, right? And come back and prepare the prep work, right? So kind of, the workflow. So unless until I don't understand where I'm failing, definitely I'm not gonna, see the success, right? So that is the key for me. Then come up with the plan. What are the resources I need to overcome to achieve my goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that those are the two lens I'm usually look into it when I get that any failures.
This is important. I'm going to go back to Dr. Viney because as an engineer, and we've heard along, if you've been following GatherVerse, you've listened to a lot of these roundtables, you listen to a lot of people talk about humanity and tech. It seems like a pivot is required in the engineering of artificial intelligence, as it seems to be leaving parts of humanity behind, that it's not being inclusive in its application. As an engineer, someone who develops these types of systems, do you come across moments where you say, you know what, we need to make a pivot?
Yeah. One is that, change direction. If you look at two, one is a traditional, another is artificial intelligence, what we are using. If you look at in the both, one is that a physical act in our path, because what we are taking the direction, it will change from the direction that is called. One is that. That another is that shift. For example, we have been planned program 1 and program 2 and program 3 in the traditional way. But when we use the technology, that direction gives a change of you start from plan 3 to achieve your desired result. So that is the way the change of direction will decide on the uh, algorithmic way, a systematic approach, and human and artificial intelligence. Because human behavior, the change accepts from emotion, and artificial intelligence take the decision non-emotional. That is the basic difference in that. Because artificial intelligence is relying on the database which is having the backup source. But human intelligence is taking the decision of changing depending on the circumstance influence. Because if your four people are sitting together and three propose to go for a movie and fourth one accepts because of to please other three. If you look at the artificial intelligence is there and it will goes and evaluate the change because the time is appropriate to go for a movie or not. Is it a right day or the movie theater is nearby the location? How much time we are spending? It will give so many questions before taking a decision. That is what the change of direction influences human life.
This is all important to make those pivots, even though, we talked about profit earlier, it's going to cost you money, but you've got to make the right choice. Sometimes it's the hard choice. I want to go over to Arjun. I saw you shaking your head. What say you?
Hello.
Yeah. I look at failure itself as a learning experience. Just want to elaborate on that. Uh, you learn a lot more when you fail versus when you succeed. So you can look at it as a stepping stone to success. Basically, for example, when I started the business, I just wanted to sell these greenhouses, but then I figured out they were mostly unprofitable. So I could have looked at that as a failure, but I adapted to developing the technology to adapt. So, yeah, I'm here because of adapting and because of failure.
I think we all are, if we really, really think about it, that we all are failing forward to a certain degree. We all start with some knowledge, but not total knowledge. And that's a path forward to get to that point of being totally, informed about certain things. Now, I'm going to go over for this last one because I know you've been listening to all of us talk about this particular subject, Russell. What say you?
Honestly, it's such a. Honestly, I think it's a mixture of everything in which everyone said. I think when we're talking about innovation and working at the front lines of blockchain technology, AI, crypto, etc., when we're working on the front lines of all this technology, it's always going to be a fallover, as how you say it, Grant, right? It's always going to be a failure to it, and it's always going to be trial and error. Are there going to be mistakes that people make? Yes. Can we afford to make those mistakes in AI? Well, that's a different question. But one thing I will say is that, you know, in order for us to innovate, I like to say what Christopher likes to say, whereas like there's two things that can be true at the same time. And what I mean by that is, on one hand, you can have the safety side, and on the other side, you can have innovation. Okay, so two can be done at the same time. And if that's true, then we should be able to combine the safety and the innovation at the same time and be able to be resilient in that by pushing forward and by failing forward, like you say, Grant, but also do it in a safe way too, so that it doesn't cause mass disruption. So I'm looking at this maybe from a slightly different lens, more of a innovative lens. Obviously what I do, but also on a personal note too, like I have to make sure that I'm pushing myself forward every day, that I pivot to on a day-to-day basis. If this task is not going right, I need to go another task. If this AI isn't working right, guess what? I need to find a different AI, etc., etc. So I think this is all encompassing of it all. And I think it all comes together under those two banners, like you're saying.
Understood. And I want, this is good. I want the audience to truly lean in on this next question, because this is why we're here. How do we win, especially if you're small and they're big, right? David and Goliath we have out here. What does this look like? What kinds of ecosystems allow individuals and small teams to find a way to win faster? We have never had an opportunity in front of us like we do right now. You have access to information, lightning speed, that you've never had before. You can get Harvard grade intelligence case studies worldwide that you never could before. This should be the most creative age in mankind if we utilize it correctly, because the small doesn't matter. Size no longer is the same, detriment that we had before. I didn't have enough resources. I don't have enough money. There were barriers put in front of you. Those barriers have gone down tremendously when it comes to creativity. These tools are now available to everyone. And now it's up to you to utilize them, to ingratiate yourself in this kind of technology and find a way to win, and to win fast. Speed to market is paramount. And if you have something that you truly believe in, that you know will make an impact on the world that we live in every day, we owe it to ourselves to bring it forth. So the question of the day is, as we go back to Tiffany, as you read this question, how would you answer it?
Now, I want to make sure that I get it right and that I don't veer off. So can you ask the question one more time?
The question is this: what kinds of ecosystems allow individuals and small teams to find a way to win faster? Think of it in ecosystems of, and it doesn't necessarily have to be technology ecosystems. It could be associations, it could be groups, it could be hackathons, it could be so many different ways. But the point is, how do we win faster?
One thing that I live off of as a necessity is the feedback loop. I'm always wanting to connect with diverse persons, completely, different than my makeup, right? I'm able to really lean into differences, our uniqueness as a collective brings strength. And I always equate it to, if you're a 2x4 and I'm a 2x4, I cannot stand up alone. But if you pressure me, I pressure you, we make an upright A-frame. And that feedback loop, that connection, that those small groups, these networks that we can utilize on platforms like LinkedIn or here on GatherVerse, as we're, coming together from all of these different backgrounds, we're able to make more strengthened, secure, accessible, innovative platforms and these emerging technologies. And so it's these groups that I'm trying to connect. Going back to what you said about technology, I cannot just get up and hop in the car, not yet, with automated vehicles and just go, meet up and, just go wherever I can. I'm able to access so many people uh, through these platforms, through technology. We saw that explode during the pandemic with remote. And so I really encourage people like you just did to kind of lean in and create your own networks and these feedback loops, and build off of it. So
I love that answer. Love that answer. I'm going to go down here to Raul. Raul, help us understand how we win faster.
Yeah, actually, this is a super great question, I would say. And, this is really important nowadays, right? So when we say the team, right, it's a more than one person, right? It's not you, right? You know your capabilities in and out, right? Let's say if I have the task to do, I know my capabilities, right? But now we are talking about the team, right? When we are talking about the team, it's a group of people, right? So what we need to have, right? We need to have the trust on your team and the flexibility and give them the proper access, right? Like these three things, and you need to have the transparency and share the knowledge, right? What are the knowledge you have, right? And make sure you share with the transparency so that they understand, right? And make them do the same thing in each, like among with the team, which means I want to give a simple example, right? So you have two rooms, one room completely filled with the balls, right? You need to transfer all the balls to the another room. Yes, you're Superman. You can do everything, right? Like for you, it will take like maybe 8 hours, right? But if you have the team of four people and if you teach the same technique, so that you're gonna finish it in 1 hour, right? So and you need to give them like the flexibility, access, and the trust, right? If you don't trust them, right, again you're gonna fail it, right? So these are the I would prefer in this way and prepare the template, right? When you have the template, so that let's say like the point one, we checked and we understand, right? And we move to the point two, right? Those are the steps. So any small team, even though you have the newbies or the experienced people, as long as they have that flexibility to think their own, and if you give that freedom to give that access, right? And when you have the trust, so definitely I don't see you gonna fail.
I like that. We've got a few minutes here. We're short on time, but I want to ask Arjun this. You
Grant,
are an
Grant,
entrepreneur. Yes.
Grant, I'm gonna have to jump in because we're running out of time, so
Yep.
we're gonna have to round this up and jump in because we've got some other stuff coming up
Go
next.
ahead.
So if we can finish this up, that'll be great.
Oh yeah, we're almost done. Just real quick because I think this is important. Because Arjun, you live in this world. You're an entrepreneur. You're building this. What do you need to win right now?
So in terms of the ecosystem, an ecosystem that embraces change, an ecosystem that embraces inclusivity, and this is right. It starts from the grassroots level, but it goes right up to the institutional level as well. So agriculture in general is a slow-moving industry, but it is getting disrupted as we speak. uh, and of course having the tools provided to you, the right tools and scalable tools which are constantly improving, uh, that I see around me. So definitely it's a combination of tools and operating in an ecosystem that embraces innovation.
I like that. I like that. And Dr. Venu, what say
Yes.
you?
Because small teams having the advantage. One is that faster decision making. That is the one biggest advantage. And second thing is that stronger ownership with the small teams. And the last one is that very clear communication with the small teams. That is the beauty of success.
This is it. So we're concluding here, but you just heard the raw truth, lived wisdom, hard-won lessons from remarkable leaders, and each of them have made a way in systems that didn't really offer them one. They had to get resilient, they had to be persistent, and then to get to visible outcomes beyond just profit, because there was no profit at the point. Profit is an outcome on the other side of the ball, but you've got to play the game to win. I want to thank GatherVerse for having me on, and all of you on the GatherVerse North America Humanity for Tech. Let's go.
Yeah. Thank you all. Good day.